Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Kyle Corvus Crow, joined at the desk tonight by Jeff Zetaschner, as we are getting ready to get into a little bit more a League of Legends Winter Invitational action, as it is Illinois Academy taking on SUNY Buffalo.
That's right, and of course, that means we've got a couple standings going to come your way, show you guys how these teams did on their road to the round of 8, if I recall correctly. This is quite deep into the tournament at this point around, and so there we go, Illinois Academy up on your screen, 2 O's all the way across, one dropped game, but we do forgive that. That happens. It's all right. Everything's good, because the University of Buffalo dropped more than one game. They dropped 3 games on their way up to here. So SUNY at Buffalo, of course, they dropped a series to Rutgers. That's a very good university. They compete very well in League of Legends, and they dropped a game, as well. But beyond that, it's still a very clean lineup. This is still a very, very consistent team, and they made it all the way here, so they have to be pretty good.
Absolutely. And, lost to Rutgers, nothing to be ashamed of. They're here now, and that's all that matters. Well, with that, do have a little bit more information coming your way from some fun stuff as we're getting later into the season. So, of course, that's all that just for talking about some sweet League of Legends. I can't think of a better deal than that. Absolutely free. But with that, we are going to go ahead and get ready for this series at hand. I think you and I might have some things to say about it as well, some chats of our own here. Unfortunately, we won't be in the rolling for the RP. I did ask. I can't win. It's unfortunate. The system is rigged, but we are getting ready to get into draft.
Yeah, whether or not the system is truly rigged will be seen once we get into the draft phase of this. I think it's going to be a bit different, right? Obviously, this is, new patches every single time. 9.3 coming out very shortly after this. That should shake up the meta even further. But as it stands, right, there haven't been further nerfs to a lot of champions. Akali still has her healing. There's a lot of really strong top laners that are going to get further tuned down. Lissandra's getting some nerfs. I mean, there's a ton of things coming down this pipeline. You got to pay attention to all those patch notes if you want to keep up. But the most important thing to note right now is the fact that the jungle is still supreme, right? It's all about aggression. It's all about getting a CC jungler who can combo into those huge early plays. Zoe, I think this is a fantastic ban. Zoe has been a terror in solo queue. She absolutely tears up everything. I mean, we're talking free wins, free carries, and I was advised, if you want to win solo queue, by Master Tier player, all you do is just gotta play Zoe. You play Zoe, you win instantly.
That the Lucian is banned out as well. It looks like they may have missed the first ban here, unless that's some kind of visual error just on my screen. But no, that one is out. It's answered back with Aatrox, so we may be seeing a 5-ban run in the first little bit of this. But we'll see whether or not that puts the Buffalo here at a significant disadvantage or not. Of course, Illinois Academy getting all 3 of theirs off. The last one is Aatrox, and will be answered back with an Alistair on the other side. So now we'll see. UVI is going to pick up first, and it looks like Cassio first pick off the rip. We've seen that one come out first in a couple orders so far in this Winter Invitational. Risky to say the least.
Yeah, and first pick in the Cassiopeia, it's either supreme confidence or it's going to be catastrophic, right? The Cassiopeia is a pick that can, bring success, it can bring failure. It's just a matter of who's piloting it, how well they actually do, and where the chips actually fall, because the Ezreal, I think this is currently the strongest AD champion that is on the Rift. Obviously, some people argue that the Lucian is better, but in terms of just being able to be a hard carry, in terms of being able to scale well, the Ezreal's got it all, right? He's got burst, he's got consistent damage, it's consistent poke damage too, so he's not really ever in danger, and because the fact that he's so long range, can deal with things like the Cassiopeia. He can be outside of her miasma, still firing shots off, still dealing damage, and with the Zac to help him engage, it's going to be great. But the problem is, when that Zac is engaging, he's going to have to go through a very big front line.
Absolutely. I mean, you pick up the Xin Zhao, you pick up the Urgot this early on. Well, that's a nice little bit of a meat shield for Cassio to kind of sit behind and deal some of that damage, make some cutoffs with the Miasma as well. And it looks like Sona going to be the last pickup of this phase going in to the second round of bans. So should be all bot lane focused here. I know Cassio, there's some discussions about where to play her best these days. Some people have some very conflicting opinions, but all top to bottom, I would not be surprised to see some supportable focus bans here coming out. Kaisa as well, just want to make sure in case they do want to flex into AD role, that one's not a huge worry. So now we'll see what is answered back. And the Scion, I actually like this ban out a lot by Illinois. Just taking that one away, making sure that in time with you cannot play it in that top lane. Scion would be very good for the early makings of what I'm seeing out of this comp of UOB, so very intelligent for them to take it away.
It's also basically the only melee champ that does well against Urgot, right? It has a great matchup against him. It's super tanky. It does great amounts of damage. It has wave clear. It's got poke. It's got slow. It's got everything, everything you could ever ask for in a melee top laner. And with the last ban being that Lissandra, the mid lane probably still going to be floated, I expect. I don't think that they're going to pick a mid laner without knowing where that Cassiopeia is going to go. So I'm going to expect the top lane here with the Urgot, and Urgot picked, Aatrox banned, Scion banned as well. I expect to see not this. Okay,
yeah.
Wukong top. This is they're betting it all on black. I mean, this is a 50-50. Either the Wukong's gonna pop off or he is going to get popped on.
It almost makes me wonder if they're not thinking Zac might be a better fit top. I mean, I don't really see the logic in either of these outcomes, but Wukong and Zac both kind of in a semi-flex situation. You expect the Wukong to go top.
There's pretty much no way Wukong goes jungle here, because Zac, the problem with Zac is he's a melee champ that does really poorly into Urgot, right? He gets demolished, he doesn't have a great matchup, he gets, after his passive pops, it's a free Urgot ult, right? He comes out and he's pretty much guaranteed to be low enough for the ult to kill him. So at that point, it's a free secure. He can't flash instantly out of the Bloblet reformation, So that Hex Drill is always going to land. The chains are always going to land. And with the Galio selected as well, this is a massive front line to get through. I mean, they're going to need some kind of a crazy sustained damage team. That's just not on the cards right now. The Ezreal is good, but the Ezreal is not shred through 3 tanks good, right? He needs quite a few items to do that. The Wukong, he's trying to combo early mid-game. He's wanting to look for those huge ultimates and fights. The Orianna might help with that because of the ultimate on herself, right? If they can get a fantastic shockwave, we're talking 3k elo back in the day, then maybe they can actually win, right? But this is going to be all about the mid-game. If the mid-game is in favor of University of Buffalo, maybe they can win. But it's going to be a really difficult game. This is going to be skill intensive, all about that macro play. If they can force the fight, force the get up, maybe they can actually do it.
You almost think they're sitting here hoping, hey guys, you know what? Let's just all cross our fingers for 3 Ocean Drakes to spawn first. Because if we get that, we'd be in great shape throughout this game. But as it is, they've got some, like you said, some kind of very hedged bets here with their compositions. Top lane, I mean, dealing with that Wukong going into the Urgot, that's going to be immensely tricky. Well, the bot lane as well, it's a Thresh supporting a Cassio. You're Sona Ezreal, you got a lot of poke damage, but you get caught like that, it can be a very dangerous situation. So I almost expect, hey, you know what? Let's encourage either try to get one of these lanes rolling off the rip and just have mid play safely as we are actually getting ready to get on into this game here. Just a quick couple seconds before these players are ready to load onto the rift. But yeah, you almost expect, a little bit of attention paid to this bot lane, get them rolling a little bit early, kind of maybe leave the mid lane, say, you know what, just farm it out, Ori, or just the hardest camp you've ever seen in the top lane. So if I'm Zaker here, if I'm Kuderek, I'm watching my back. And, Rob Stoppable on this support, he's going to have to be on the lookout for just constant dive bombs out of this Zac.
Yeah, and with that, we should be able to load straight onto the Rift for game number 1 of the University of Illinois versus University of Buffalo in New York. This, I think, or SUNY at Buffalo, excuse me,
right.
But SUNY at Buffalo. And this is going to be, I think, as you said, a very jungle-focused game, right? Where Zach goes, he's going to determine a lot. If he goes in and he finds, a fantastic pick, he gets damage off, gets most importantly the CC onto this Urgot, it will be fantastic. But here comes an early invade. The Wukong, he is spotted. Look for that hook.
Yeah, he could actually get flayed back early, and he does start that, dodge ability, gets over the wall, and
Nobody
Poison
flashed
might
after
just get him. Is he got enough? Doesn't matter. He's running straight into Shocks, and that's
Okay.
first blood for the jungler of Illinois, picking that one up, and the flash is down as well. So Shocks going to be off to a great start. Assists for literally the rest of the team. No one's going to be complaining about that. The flash down as well. It's a bad start for the top laner.
You gotta think. Maybe that was the wrong flash, right? Because you think the flash should always be used to get over the red pit, and then
Right.
you don't have to start W. You don't have to worry about it. You just get out. But he didn't flash over the red pit, and so he does in fact die for that. Flashed into the enemy territory, got brought down by the Xin, and now he is backed and gotten himself a longsword. And this is kind of surprising, actually, that he opted into longsword instead of the second jungle item. But Xin Zhao doesn't fall that low during the clear, so I guess I could see it. It doesn't really matter if you have second jungle item because the Zin's still super strong. They have the Pixel Brush ward though. They know he's invading. They know he's going to pressure the Zac on these wolves.
Yeah, and this is where you gotta be careful now for the Zac. He doesn't want to get that passive
Flash
pop
down.
early. Flashes actually for it, so Kupagan has to get out of that one. Does have a blue buff. It's only the wolves that he's really giving up, and Rob as well. But with this, definitely needs to tighten up how that early jungle start has happened, because Longsword making a lot of difference with the in-your-face play. Would not be surprised for Shocks to just continue this one out. In time with you, in this top lane, giving a lot of respect to Zaker. He's down a level. He's given a lot of space. But this lane continues to stack up against him. He's going to miss out on a ton of good CS.
This is pretty much expected out of the early cast lane, right? She's going to have the combo at 2. She's going to have an incredible amount of pressure. And the Thresh is also zone, The real issue with Sona is she is quite a good poke support, but if you get all in, especially at the early levels, she doesn't do anything. She just evaporates, has no HP, no nothing. Much like this Zac, who is in a ton of trouble now.
Yeah, he's got to get out of that one. That's just going to be the passive.
Flash.
Again, yeah, flash down from when he was last beat up on this one, so Zaker gonna get Kupagan out of that one, taking a nice kill for himself. The top half of the map starting to look really good for the University of Illinois Academy. They're stacking up a lot of pressure. That's another one to the Urgot, and if things weren't already hard enough for In Time with you on that Wukong, they just got harder.
I mean, he already died once. He's already down now. A kill to the Urgot. The Urgot didn't have the kill, of course, on the first side, but giving that to him means that now he can probably just win this lane. Kerbeck in the mid lane, he's trying combo as well. Not insane amounts of damage, right? They did nerf Galio slightly to try and tone down his early laning prowess and his ability to all in basically any champion on the map. So with that toned down, we do expect to see him having a bit more of a difficult time just straight up 1v1 winning lanes, which means now with the teleport back in, we have to see where the Zac is at. He's on the wrong side of this thing though to help his mid.
Yeah, no, this is really tight spot now for Wamba. Gotta be careful. Now to make sure to get out of this one, and did keep both summoners out of that, and that's the good news. Kerbeck actually down his teleport just to get back and keep his pressure on. That's part of why this is going so poorly, I would say, for the mid laner of Buffalo, is that he's been a back that he's not been able to return, but now he has to get out of that one. Uses the flash. The Ignite was taken pretty low, but not low enough. Just going to turn a little bit more harassed on the Baka Slam. Can you get more out of this one, or is it just buying time? Because here's Kupagan trying to get in for a little bit more. The threshold is there, but it's not enough. Death Sentence might be his own, and Baka Jam still drops top of it. It's not down yet. As Kubair is trying to get out of that one. He does get away with the kill on Baka Jam. He's down now, and Zaker should have the rest of this fight. It's a pretty aggressive stay by the rest of Buffalo, and they could get punished for it. Indeed, they are. But yeah, now here comes the Wukong. Is it going to be enough?
Flash
Flash
out.
is out, and Shox is there. This is probably another one down for the likes of SUNY Buffalo, and that's going to be, yes, taken up by Shox. In time with you is just in time to go to the grave. That's a double buffed Xin Zhao in everybody's business at this point.
This is, I think, probably the worst that the early game could have gone, right? We talked about the fact that they need to have a good early game, and again, Coop again, getting his jungle invaded on and just having nowhere to go, nowhere to get gold from before he just gets forced out.
It's a rough situation, and it's only 6 minutes into this game. It feels like it might just be, 4 or 5 minutes later, just past that 10-minute mark. It's not. It's 6 minutes into this game, and we've already got over a 2K gold. We've got support roaming and a beautiful flash taunt combo there. Sorry, hook taunt combo is Rob Stoppable. Actually getting the kill onto the Zac. The Wumba Wumba did manage to get out of that one, but again, taken out and away for this one. Kill did go over to Rob Stoppable at least, so at least it's onto the support, but at the same time, not ideal. Not in the defense of this.
Yeah, not ideal, I think, is how the definition of this early game. It has not been a great time for the side of Buffalo. They are struggling, right, to find their ground. They're struggling to find their Wukong any kind of a kill, any kind of, a lead, right? He comes to the bot lane, and then the flash, lay in.
Yeah, it was a good play, but it was well popped out of now.
Yeah, but again, Wukong came down bot. He TP's down, doesn't have flash, goes in. As soon as he does, the Urgot's like, oh wait, he has no escape, I already burned his flash, and just kills him, right? So, unlucky again for the Wukong, in time with you, not finding his kills, not finding his purchase. And that's kind of just been the story for this Wukong, right? He's not getting the CS he needs, he's not getting the kills he needs, even on his teleport plays. They haven't been fruitful. And so, at that point you have to wonder, okay, is teleport the right choice? Would Ignite maybe have helped him get a kill? Talk about summoner choices, talk about the top lane choice, but Zac might be able to turn this around.
And we talked about this in particular.
It's out here.
Actually, it's right under tower. That's going to be now a big come-in. Kerbeck getting the kill just on his ultimate arrival. And Rob Stoppable, the support slayer, on the Baka Jam, finds himself that one out here. But maybe in the top lane, they can turn around a little bit of this misfortune they're dealing with. They want to get here onto Zaker. Do have to be very mindful of the potential execute to flash out for in time with you, Kupagan. Careful as well. He wants to go in, but it's only going to be his ultimate passive, I'm sorry, that's taken out in the way through that one. So if you don't get Zaker at the end of the day, either way, Wumba Wumba may want to come in to get this one. Blast Cone over the wall. Shockwave is there. That should be the kill. And is taken away. No assists here, so it's the mid laner. At least one kill back in the hands of Buffalo with, look at that, the Ocean Dragon taken away as recompense.
This is, actually a pretty good Ocean Dragon, but at the same time, right? At least they got something for their Orianna, right? It's a good play. They recognize the fact they can catch out the Urgot. They have Zac for the chase, and then they just convert the kill. More of those are going to be needed in order to get University of Buffalo back into this game, but it's already a 5,000 gold deficit at 9 minutes, right? That's already becoming incredibly dangerous. If it starts to spiral further out of control, there's probably nothing they can do to bring this back. So they're going to need to stop it here and now in order to have a chance.
Yeah, it's not like their team composition is going to scale so much into the later aspects of this game, right? I mean, it's a decent team composition for getting to the late game, but you have some terrors on the other side as well, so we're very mindful of that as these things continue to fall a little further and further behind now. North right of SUNY Buffalo. Now creeping along in the bottom area. Shox has been shocking the world on this one. His ability to maintain some serious jungle pressure. We'll see if they try another behind the tower gank here. Worked for him last time. And they're going right in. They want to find it. That's Rocket Jam. He's going to be in trouble. Boolster gets out just by a little bit. Uses his flash pretty aggressively. And if Shox can dash in on this one, it's a kill for sure. Is the E up in time? The answer is no. And Shox gets the killing spree. This is going to be first tower almost certainly going down as well.
Yeah, and that's probably, starting to be that final nail in the coffin. We talked about needing to turn it around earlier. If the Ezreal is dying, right, that's one of their, mid to late game damage threats. He needs to be scaling. He needs to be getting the items he really needs in order to win this. And sure, he has the Manamune at 10 minutes, but generally what you're aiming for is like Manamune Frozen Fist somewhere around the 14 to 15 minute mark at the very, latest, right? That's the ideal. You want to get them 13. Catching on to Galio, though, they don't have any magic damage.
No, now Galio just hold right back, but he's doing so much damage to Koopagan here. Wants to find a little bit more. Actually does get his flash burned out, so that will be a nice small consolation prize at the end of the day, but not even sure he entirely needed that one. Koopagan playing pretty risky here without the passive. He's okay, though, at the end of the day. Gonna be just a back there. Get the ward over the wall. Make sure that... Try to keep a cap now on the shocks and his movements, because part of his strength here has just been the element of surprise. So if you can take that away from him, well, maybe you can start to get a foot back in this game. That's much easier said than done.
Yeah, to catch him and to stop the Galio with the damage that they currently have, they need the Ezreal. They need him to be doing things. They need him to be actually strong. He is just not. Galio's in, though, and with that, Thresh might actually drop.
They want to get more. Yeah, that's actually the first kill now, and a big shutdown coming from the top later in time with you. Happy to pick that one up, and yeah, it was a shutdown. 2 kills on the Thresh at this point in the game. Now, quickly though, Shock's getting his vengeance here. The shield from the Ori not going to be enough as Kerbeck finds the credit for the killing spree. And that's 3 assists to tack on as well. So when they're getting these kills, they are sharing the gold, spreading the love around onto the side of U Up High Illinois Academy here. Zaker now could be in a little bit of trouble here, but we've seen Koopagan be unable to follow through on this one. This time, no exceptions. Just going to mean that Zaker happy to rotate right back down to the bottom side, keep this pressure alive, maybe get a ward out, some jungle. Who knows? The world is his oyster at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost feeling like the game is, a bit slow on the side of Illinois, right? They're kind of thinking like, okay, where are we gonna get the next? Oh my gosh, the Urgot Smite. Unsealed Spellbook is such an interesting keystone. He just gets the free Scuttle Crab there, and this is, a very, very slow progression, right? Illinois haven't, looked for any fights, necessarily. Most of the time it's been them getting caught out, it's been them, in solo lanes, and sometimes solo lanes overextend, and then they get a kill, but for the most part, they aren't playing, super proactively, and yet they still have this massive goal. So, with that Rift Herald spawning, that's going to be the start of the proactive plays. They're going to look for multiple turrets at once. They're going to try to push 2, maybe 3 lanes at the same time and get kills while doing it.
And you talk about proactivity, well, Rift Herald's a great way to do it. That's 1 tower down already. He's in the top side where that Rift Herald was popped, keep in mind.
And with only, 2 members up to defend it, you would think that they could probably get 3 turrets off.
They want to get more as they're getting in. There's the bounce back. They're trying to find it on the Kuda. The teleport is in. Sona ult down. There's going to be a little bit more as in time with you, trying to get the damage he needs, but they all have to back off. They do have to this better though. And just like that, no chance of the execute there. So all well and played through. Things okay. Buffalo, but man, they have to stop this push. The turret plating is down. They did manage to stop the Rift Herald. It lost a tower and a half for it, basically, as the inner tower was damaged severely. They're on their back foot in multiple parts of this map. Their mid tower, the only outer left standing, beat to a pulp, basically. And you look at just the tall order that becomes defending this thing against the siege now. That has been...
At 14 minutes, you're defending a 9,000 gold disadvantage? I mean...
And
there's not much they can do is the real problem, right? Even if they were to get the perfect team fight, right? Perfect team fight being Wukong ult perfectly changed into the ult from Orianna, and then Zac knocks them up with his E, and then ults them backwards while they're in Sona ult, and brings them back to his team to get more damage. That's the perfect combo, and I still doubt that they have enough damage to kill everybody.
I mean, just... with everything they needed to through, particularly the Galio, Zaker as well.
Wukong doesn't even have an item. At 15 minutes, he doesn't even have his first item.
Well, look at that. He's 53 CS down right now. Almost double closing in on it from Zaker. He's about 15 away from that mark, but it seems possible but he may make it at this point. You know what I said at the beginning of this game, a couple Ocean Dragons off the rip would be nice? Well, I meant it for the likes of Buffalo, but this is all going to Illinois Academy. That's the second Ocean Drake in a row, and they're happy to build up that kind of sustain with the competition that they have. This means more time for chases like this, more time for these prolonged extended sieges. And Beachcroft's not the greatest to begin with anyway, seeing as they do lack a traditional AD. Well, now it's time to do the hit flash on it, trying to get a little bit more to suppress the executed there. Zaker gets himself yet another kill, and they're bringing up the third member now to try and stop him. Well, it's given time now for the rest of Illinois to rotate up. They're more bent on just clearing wards, making sure they're not in any real imminent danger. They know they can leave Zaker up there by himself. It's Kerbeck as one of the two devious members of the team, and we see if it's behind the tower attempt to use something. There's the shockwave, there's the let's bounce. It is the shutdown now. Zaker's gone down, Kerbeck looks to be the next to fall, and that kill does go over to Ghoulster as he picks himself up. A much needed lifeline, but at what cost? Because now the bottom inner tower's gone down, mid's taking a beating as well. Jox, he may be in a little bit of trouble for this one. The Ezreal could hunt him down fairly easy. Doesn't have the Iceborne just yet to finish that, so he's out of that one scot-free.
Yeah, this is... I mean, even if he finishes the Frozen Fist, right? But it's Frozen Fist gonna get finished at like 18, 19 minutes. He's like 5 minutes off his items. But Wukong is like 10 minutes off of his item. Ideally, you know, he's getting the early kills. He's getting the Ghost Blade somewhere around that 8-9 minute mark. It's 17 minutes he doesn't even have it, you know? That's crazy to not have the Ghost Blade. Sure, the good things, right? Wukong in the super late game acts a lot like Xin Zhao in the super late, right? They're both incredibly tanky, they deal great amounts of damage, they repeatedly dive onto your backline, they're really sticky, and they have an ultimate that does great damage as well, right? In Xin's case, it's to keep people away so he can hit them. In Wukong's case, he just does damage, you know?
It's
so,
just to hit them.
It just hits them, yeah, it's just a hit, it's just a big stick, it hits them, right? The Wukong in the super late game can still deal incredible like work, right? He gets the Sterix, he gets, you know, sometimes Black Cleavers, sometimes just, you know, Randuins, things like that, makes him incredibly tanky, incredibly hard to kill, and he still does damage. The problem being, he doesn't have the time to scale to that, right? They're still 9,000 gold down. The gold actually hasn't moved. We mentioned the fact that Illinois are often very static as a team. They're often very reluctant to take these fights. That's still the case right now. But maybe they're going to go in now.
Right, they tried to staunch the bleeding on the side of Buffalo, and it has helped okay. But what more can we find out of this one is the question, because it's not enough to just make sure you don't bleed out. It is certainly in order to have to continue trying to move forward in this game. Well, that's the let's bounce. He finds 2, maybe 3, as Thresh brings himself in on that one. There's no shockwave, but there is the wombo combo in the jungle, and Jox is going to be in trouble now. That's another kill for the Ezreal. He's feeling good about this one. Wolfie, what else can you do in this fight? Can you save Kupagun? Because now here's Kerbeck. He's getting in at the 2-man taunt. He finds the first kill. Sona down. Ezreal down. More to come. Perhaps as Zaker still alive in this one, and he's going to get the kill. It's just a passive pop, but there's absolutely no saving this Zac here. The teleport
in. Well, you said no saving him, and there still isn't.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, in time with you, not able to get out of this one. He made, well, no, okay, it was a tricky enough play. They did well enough to get out of that one.
Looking for Zaker, right?
Yeah, more impressive than I thought. And look at this. There's his ultimate to get in. Zaker is in trouble. Nicely done. He's going to get away from Kudarik.
That's surprising. I'm very surprised that was allowed to happen. Zaker, knowing how low his health is, that he didn't stick with his teammates. He got greedy. He went back for farm and got punished for it. Surprising, but definitely a way Buffalo can come back. They need quite a few more of those. But at the very least, they narrowed the gold lead from, you know, 10, 11,000 back down to 9 again. So they're keeping it even. If they can scale out with that, it is possible that this game isn't over yet. Because after all, we mentioned, Illinois, very hesitant to try and siege. They don't have a very good siege team. Cassiopeia is the only ranged champ on their team. And so it's going to be incredibly hard for them to actually take turrets now that Rift Herald is gone. They're going to need to wait for this Baron, hopefully get it, and then push in with that.
I have to wonder if that might not be their undoing. Decisiveness, it's been shown already to have an adverse effect in just this game alone. Well, what could happen the rest of the series? What could happen the rest of the tournament should they progress? These are the questions I think in everyone's mind now. They are looking to say, hey, we have to fight this team. How is it going to go? You take a look at their best points. You take a look at the fact that, okay, Kudarik here, he's 4-0-8. Kerbeck, 4-1-5. Only one death as well on the Shocks there. The punching bag has been top in support, but I think that's a role Zaker's more than happy to play because he's really just been kind of a utility split, pushing the bottom lane, running around in the top lane. He's happy to get caught out occasionally if it does mean he can continue knocking down these towers, continue shedding all these problems he's got. Well, that's going to mean now a Cloud Drake for himself. He's been great about picking that one up and trying to set up elsewhere on the map. Here it comes to this mid lane.
This
Getting it.
dangerous, but not maybe dangerous for the right reasons. Galio's still trying to pinch off this Orianna.
Galio obviously definitely can initiate with his ultimate, but to get the Let's Bounce, not going to find any target to pull back with him. Just even out just a little bit.
This is, again, now they can finally pressure onto the turret, right? This will be their first turret taken without the aid of Rift Herald in quite some time, but Zac is still trying to engage.
Two-man Shockwave finds a lot, actually. They're getting the Wombo combo down. You talked about a perfect fight. That may have been it, as it's only going to find two. And they do trade their support as well, but more to possibly come now as Kudirik's going to get shut down. Be another one for this Ezreal Ghoulster. Starting to come online. He's playing this one very well. He was 1-5. Now he's 4-5. So right position for him to be in.
That was the only thing that could have happened. And yet, at the same time, right, Cassiopeia Ultimate was apparently not up. I'm very surprised that it was not up. But the fact that she didn't actually get to, use the ultimate, she didn't actually get to re-engage turn at all. The Galio instantly blew up. He was tightly grouped, so he didn't have time to re-engage with his ult. The Xin Zhao didn't ult at all. And then the Urgot just walked away, right? This team is up so much gold, but they're so scared to fight. The Zac just takes advantage of that, jumps into the back line, gets that Wombo combo, and all of a sudden, if Illinois keep playing like this, Buffalo might have a chance.
Take a look at Buffalo. They've dropped the gold lead yet again by another 1,000, so it's only an 8,000 deficit at this point. I say only, but both as time continues to rack up, that's going to mean less and less and less. 8,000 gold in the lead is not as much at 22 minutes as it was at 12 minutes, as it was at 15 minutes. Now, as well, you got to take a look at some of this. Death timers are getting longer. If they can actually get a tower, well, a lot of that gold is just a tower deficit, 4-0, right? Stuff that if they can pick up those standing objectives, Buffalo could be in better shape. Rob stoppable, not quite a standing objective, but a kill onto him would be nice here. He plays it back, just says no chance. They're trying to buy time for this split push, which is happening from Zaker in the bottom lane. They as well have Kerbeck teleport and ultimate online for this push in the top lane, so they're happy to 1-3-1 here. This is where things get very dangerous for Buffalo if they cannot shore this up quickly. They're going to put in time with you up against Zaker in this lane matchup. He knows it's going to be a little unfavorable. He is the left.
A lot unfavorable.
Yeah, a lot of that damage. And look at that. That's under tower. Zaker didn't even take a little bit as much of a nose tap.
I mean, the real issue I see is, even though they're getting, side lane pressure, right? They're not getting anything for it. They're not pressuring. They're not getting turrets. The Galio is going to take this inner. But even if he does take the inner, right, they need more.
Tries to flash, but that's not going to be enough for him here. Kerbeck probably going to get taken down as Ghoulster finds himself the 5th credit kill there. It's a 2v1 though now in this bottom lane, and should be the tower going down if Orianna cannot stop it here. They're just going to tank a little bit and Shock to make sure that won't happen. On the official, they'll take the lantern right out of there, or will they? No, they say they'll have to ride the CS train. They'll let the red lane down, and that's just fine by them. The flank, though, spotted out. People's going to try it here anyway. We'll see whether or not that actually is the attempt they want to pick this battle with.
The other thing is, the reason I was very curious about the Zac, and I thought the Thresh was such a good pick, every Zac jump can be flayed by Thresh, right? You can flame out of jump, he doesn't do anything. That hasn't happened. So the vast majority of their engages have been this Zac from long range getting onto their team. If Rob Stoppable is anywhere near the front, that should never happen. It should always be an instant flay, an instant stop of the Zac, and then basically at that point, you're free to fight because you didn't get knocked up. If you didn't get knocked up by the Zac, even if you do get comboed, right, Orianna combo, maybe a little bit of a Zac ultimate as well, you can just have most of your team still out of the picture because time to walk away. Then they have time to not actually get 3 ulted in succession. Still, though, keep in mind the fact that this is a team with a very large gold lead. 10,000 gold is nothing to sneeze at. They can absolutely win a fight. They just have to know how to do it.
See if they can pick that fight well enough too, because half of it's just time and location. And this time they got a couple obvious targets here on the map. Well, the Mountain Drake is taken out and away. Not that they've had too much trouble killing towers yet, but that will make it just a little bit easier. Potentially the same for Baron, should they decide to go that route here as well. But we do have an exposed inhibitor here. We may want to come on to try to get that one down.
It's
a nice shot.
It should be their split pusher that goes to the inhib, obviously. It means that he doesn't have to chew through a full turret. The rest of the team can siege up on a turret. Actually, no. It should be the other way around. The whole team just walks to the inhibitor and then they rotate to another turret. Because with no turret to hide behind, right? The negation of their lack of siege is not a problem anymore. They can just walk in, they have minions, and nothing to, hold them back at the base. If they get the bottom inhibitor too, it sets them up for Baron. That's the one that matters the most. If they have that and it's down, they can just stand at Baron infinitely. Eventually supers pressure the base, eventually supers take it, and University of Buffalo just has to make a decision. So far though, inhib still stands. Zin, where?
I'm not exactly sure what I saw or why, but it should net him a kill. Actually, just finds a flash. And Bakajam out of that one. Very confusing. We'll see if this death sentence does land. That could be bad news now for the Zac. They're going to try to get in. It's a nice delivery system, actually, as Kubagan gets Rob stoppable. It's only the Thresh, though. Zaker faces that ultimate on the passive pop as well. And now this could be bad for Kuderic. He actually gets it with a perfect ultimate. Okay. He does stay alive. But this is going to be the Galio again in the mid lane as well. So right now it's a 1 for 3 taken away. And another one fight against all odds by the very gold deficited University of Buffalo. This could be their first tower as well. They do have Ghoulster still alive. SUNY Buffalo picking something up for themselves now.
This is... I can't believe what's going on right now. This is... It seemed like the freest game. It just had to get closed out by Illinois, and then all of a sudden, Buffalo are winning fight after fight. They're getting pressure, they're getting turrets. Now they're looking for Baron. The game is kind of turned on its head, and if the Xin Zhao gets picked here, the Baron is gone. He has to stay alive. He needs that smite threat in order to make them respect.
We'll see if he can play smart enough to hold that threat over their heads and keep to that condition, because it's a tricky situation to find yourself in now. Still, for both universities, but definitely in the hands of SUNY Buffalo. This Baron threat, very large. Shocked actually to get too further down. He could actually be a risk for ultimate. Well, that's popped early by Ghoulster. Had the vision, but just wanted to deter it. Now Zac's in the pit, but it's not enough to steal. That does go down now to Illinois. They have the Baron. They're trying to get out with this one. It's a 5-man Baron takeaway. Cooper did get out with his life.
They got the Baron. This is finally the way that they can maybe open up the base, right? Because keep in mind, the wave clear on the side of Buffalo is limited to Orianna and Ezreal. Right, the Wukong does not do fantastically at clearing waves. He doesn't do fantastically at pushing them in. So what they need to do is they need to find pressure with those before the Baron minions hit. As soon as they hit, then the waves are basically going to be impossible to clear because, Orianna Zac, that's not going to clear a wave very quickly, especially when they're Baroned up minions.
No, they're not going to have too much on their hands. Sona as well, hey, decent wave clear enough in the earlier portions of the game, but right now, you got Baron minions, you got super minions potentially being threatened as well with this inhibitor being the definite focus, and that's not something that I think right now Buffalo are equipped to handle. We'll see if they can make a last-ditch effort. I mean, the death timer is getting longer and longer and longer, so if they can just keep replicating fights like the last one they had, hey, maybe next time you hit a turret and have 2 turrets. But it's just feeling more and more unlikely with the way this Baron is stacking out now in time. If we gotta run away from this, cannot even start to hold this tower. Now exposed the inhibitor. He's gonna go in with the ultimate. Sona is there as well. They want to find this fight. The taunt is just too too powerful, and that's going to be Kuderek and Kerbeck making themselves the stars of this fight. Taking out 2 off the rip so early. Now, Booster, Wamba, Kubagun, these are the ones that have to defend it. I don't think they can, especially with that death sentence. That's going to be bad news from Zach. He tries to bounce back into the tower, and that actually may get the kill. Does not. Rockstoppable finds the credit when he was in trouble. Otherwise, that's 2 inhibitors now down. The backline is there with shocks as well, and this is just devastating now. Wamba going to get Chu right out and through. And that's the ace. They don't need to back. They probably are just going to be able to shove this one right on through. Plenty of minions, plenty of power, plenty of time on those death timers as well. And so that one can get knocked down out. It's about 31 minutes knocking on the door of it that the University of Illinois takes the first game of this series. 25 kills to 15. More than 14k gold in the lead, though. And all 11 towers taken off the map, taken off the rip. These guys came to play today.
Yeah, I can't really say how they got there, how the match actually progressed to the point where it did, because that's kind of a crazy game, right? It's not how I expected it to go. I don't think it's how anyone expected it to go, because it just seems like the game didn't go their way after quite some time. They had a lead, they had everything. They had, infinite amount of pressure, and that just vanished. And then it came back instantly after the Baron. So, a composition that has no siege and a team that's very unwilling to take fights while having no siege, match made in heaven for a comeback potential, but potential is going to have to be the key word here.
Yeah, well, we still have potentially 2 more games left in this series if now SUNY Buffalo can dig deep, figure out what went wrong for them, and try to turn it around, because you have to wonder maybe just a couple bad matchups in lanes, maybe just feeling a little bit kind of outclassed in the draft there could be what had them down, because it certainly wasn't their mechanical prowess in the game, right? They proved time and time again that they can hang with these players. So adaptation now the name of their game, and we'll see whether or not they can do it. But we're going to give them just a few short minutes to get that all lined up, squared away, and figure out exactly how they do want to come into this next draft and give these players a break. We're going to take a quick break ourselves, but when we come back, we've got a little bit more League of Legends actions for you, so don't go anywhere. Well, thank you for sticking with us through the break, ladies and gentlemen, as we are already here, ripping ready to go in draft for game number 2. We're going to see what they come to the table with. It's a bit of a side swap, but if you are just joining us, of course, we did see the University of Illinois Academy take game number 1 in, well, a pretty stat-heavy win, right? But maybe that doesn't tell the full story.
Yeah, that's, you know, it happens. Sometimes the teams don't actually get the results they're looking for with their actual composition. That might have been one of these times, but we're going to load straight into our draft for our game number 2 to find out if University of Buffalo have switched up enough to get a win in this series.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Already off the rip, we got the Galio and the Cassio out of there, the Lucian band as well, and something not too surprising, Urgot actually played by Zager last game. Illinois Academy wants to ban it this time around so they don't have to deal with that in their own exchange. They're worried about it as a first pick potential, so 2 of those champions, I'm sorry, 3, because Galio included, off the rip now, will not be seen here on Summoner's Rift today, and the last ban now for SUNY Buffalo going to come down to the table here. We're going to see it is the Akali. You know, they don't want to have to run up against that one, so maybe this tells me a little bit about what they're planning on first picking. Jin Zhao is the last ban. 2 of their same champions from last game now banned by the University of Illinois.
Yeah, this is, I think, probably a pretty okay draft, at least to start. They don't want to deal Galio. They don't want to deal with the Akali. They picked the Ezreal. So far, so good, right?
Yeah,
Problem
I'm okay
is,
with that. Oh, go
there
on.
are other things on the table. The Aatrox, while it is less popular than the Urgot, it still is able to be played. It still is very competent as a top laner. It's just not as good as it once was, you know? So that's the real issue. If it was as good as it once was, then obviously it would be always picked. But instead, they're going to opt into the Alistar. I think that's a pretty good pick. I don't think that's, you know, the worst. And especially when you have that Yasuo AD, it combos super, super well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pickup here. Just get the knockup. Obviously, channeling that into a post-level 6 world for the likes of this Yasuo works very nicely here. The Alistar, of course, was banned in the last game. One of the 2 bans in the first phase from SUNY at Buffalo. Now, though, they still want to keep the Zach Kupagan. You know, he played well within the confines of team fights, I'll say. Most of those Let's Bounces really did happen to very well set up the Orianna, who I would not be surprised if they tried to pick with this, but you know, a big question mark. I think top lane and support were some more of the question marks that I had for University of Buffalo, more so than the rest of this one. So we'll see if they opt to pick that solo laner this early on. Now, it did end up being Draven and not Yasuo on the side of course, University of Illinois. We'll see if the other blood brother comes through, and the one that still has the bleed, Darius, is locked up and out.
And the Darius is... it's a pick that can be abused, right? That's the real problem, is when you're playing Darius, you're risking the fact that you get poked out by Kennen's. Kennen's super, super popular in solo queue right now. I don't know what changed about that, but he is back with a vengeance. The Vladimir does fantastically, as we see the hover here, and if that gets locked in, you can flex that top, you can flex it mid, you can get ranged in both lanes, you can do whatever you want. It's a great flex pick to have super early into the draft, and now the bans should start to cement onto this bottom lane. What you want to do is you want to prevent any kind of engage, right, that would ruin your competition. So the Orianna is going to be removed. I think Wumbo had a very good game on it. The problem being, if they get comboed like that now, they don't actually have a way for the Draven to escape. He just kind of explodes, and if he explodes, that's a big portion of their damage so far in their composition.
And that burst a little bit more resolute, I would say, with something like the Darius dunk to come through at the end of the day as well. When they take out the Stinge, it was probably a little targeted. The Lysandra band, yet again, now on the side of the University of Illinois. They didn't want to deal with it last time either, so maybe that's something Wumba Wumba got that card pretty well up his sleeve, but not far enough away to hide it from his opponents. Last ban of the game, number 2 coming out here. We'll see what they do lock in time with you. Did miss a ban last game, so we'll see if he's on time with it here as the clock does run down, and Kha'Zix the last one to fall is they still do need to pick up a jungler on the side of the University of Illinois. We'll see what they do opt to go with it again. Xin Zhao's off the table, and Zach's already picked up, so it's got to be something new here. Curious to see what it'll be.
Yeah, and I think what should be happening right here is because support and the jungler already, or support and the support and AD already picked. The jungle should be next. They do pick the jungler. It's Lee Sin. I caught my breath and my words at the same time, but it was a little bit late. Illinois have Lee Sin. I like this pick. The problem being, it doesn't actually kill Darius that well, right? You need to get in super early into the lane, and you need to have a champion that has some form of CC. If Darius is allowed to move around, if he's allowed to, dance freely with his Q, he can actually 1v2 rather competent. And in addition to that, Cassidy is a fantastic matchup into Vladimir. So now the Vladimir is basically going to get forced to go top lane. They're going to need to pull out some kind of an AD mid laner in order to shut down this Cassidy. And if they can't manage that, if Vladimir goes mid, he's going to get demolished by this.
Keep in mind, they did hover that Yasuo earlier on. Now, you thought maybe it was in the AD role at that time, something they could possibly try to pick up to deal with the Cassidy here if they wanted to. Not sure if that's something Kerbeck has in his pocket or not. And this pick can be telling, obviously rounding out the composition here for the University of Illinois. Jana, the last pickup in the support role for Stood, as it actually looks like, I believe that's a player substitute. We did not talk about that, but this is definitely a change up in that bottom lane. And now they do pick up the Yasuo, and it looks like currently they have it top. We'll see if that stays the case. I'd be surprised, but not terribly shocked.
Yeah. The Yasuo, I think, is a very good counter pick, right? They floated it earlier. They could have obviously picked it as a bot laner, but the problem with the bot lane is generally it does, suffer from poke. It gets a little bit of a harsh matchup into pretty much any AD. The Janna in particular throws out a lot of auto attacks. Her Zephyrs are really annoying. He will get poked down. So to have it mid lane instead, obviously is a lot different. The Kassadin, though, if he does not get shut down, I can't emphasize this enough, if he does not get shut down, it is a 1v9 champ. He reaches level 16, the game just ends. So they're going to need, by them, I mean Illinois are going to need to do something about this champion, or else Buffalo has basically outdrafted them with a single pick.
Buffalo, that's something they needed in the draft, most certainly, and so now you have to wonder what resources are they going to be able to throw at this Kassadin time and time again to just shut him on down there, because they got the Lee Sin for ganks, right? That's going to be nice. Vladimir roams as well. Alistair, a fantastic roaming support. You have to wonder, and you have to be careful as to what other priority you do give up when you start to funnel more resources into that mid lane. We've already seen Koopagan competent on this Zach. In time with you on the Darius, that's a bit of a wild card. Ghoulster, we know if you let him, he will get rolling on this Ezreal. So with that, as we do get ready to load into the game, I'm very curious to see how these champions all do run up against each other now. On the line here is a little bit of the side swap, a little bit of some draft change ups coming in now. Curious to see exactly how this is going to transpire, because neither of these two compositions looking all that similar to what they were trying to do last time, and maybe still some level 1 action. That's something that could be held as a constant here, but yeah, really the only two champions still on repeat from last time. Koopagun on that Zac, and Ghoulster on that Ezreal, but top to bottom everywhere else repping somebody new in their role.
Yeah, of course, Draven is a pretty good Ez counter. It has been historically one of the best matchups into Ezreal, of course. Ezreal loves to dance around you, throw his Qs out, hit resets, and Draven walks up and hits you with an axe. And Ezreal traditionally doesn't do very well into lanes with heavy amounts of poke and zone. He famously loses to, things like Kate Zyra. The Lux oftentimes even gives you trouble because of the wave clear and the push potential, things of that nature. So without having a push support of his own, this lane is going to be probably a little bit difficult for him. He's going to need some help. He's going to need some assistance. He brought teleport as well. knowing that he's going to get poked out and he's going to have to TP back in. So good to see some adaptations being made, and hopefully Buffalo, you know, going to look to even this series up, of course, at 1-on-1.
Certainly what they drafted with the intention of doing. You can tell they pulled no strings in this one, kept some comfort levels there, but again, changing up the support as well, bringing Stood in. I'm curious to see how this one's all going to transpire for him. Well, now, spot lane, honestly, going to have some trouble. Kudrik shoving in on that Draven. He's a very aggressive AD, somebody that can just keep you absolutely backed into a corner here. And Ulster didn't have the best start last game, if we do recall correctly. He got into the game very well, playing on the safe line, doing what he needed to do and executing those objectives as an AD, but the laning phase really wasn't all for him here. Fell pretty tragically behind, and the Cassio got into the game as a result. Draven brings all of that same potential to the table. I think the potential looks like Lee Sin. Shock's hanging around for this blue buff, wants to get Kupagan on the back foot here. We'll see whether or not that's something that does end up coming down as spot lane action. Still just rowing back and forth. Surprising to see it's stayed this even, actually.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Kudarik eating free autos, right? He'll go up to CS, and you see that the trade comes in.
Oh, ooh, there it is. He's trying to get it. The blue, I can't tell who got it, actually. It is the Zac. And he gets out of it over the wall just in one piece, and had the passive too, so that was actually pretty great.
Zaker's probably dead here.
Ooh, yeah, this is tricky. That's a flash, but he does have the pool. Can he get the spin off in time? The answer is yes, is in time with you. Picks up first blood this time around, switching up the game plan and doing a good job of it. Now Stood having to get out of that one. The Ignite's going to take him out. Rob Stoppable getting the credit. Answers that back up to an even kill. 1-1, but Shocks and Kerbeck trying to make this a little bit more. The Darius could be in some trouble. It's a nice stop up on him, but I think he's only delaying the inevitable.
Yasuo's very low now. Be careful about this. Even though they Ignite, he needs to dash through and get the kill quickly, and he does do that. Illinois, they quickly get off to just as well of a lead as the last time around, right? They're going to look for the early game. They're going to try and close this out. Quick 2-0. They picked aggressive champions. It is a meta in which you can still do that, of course. You can be aggressive, you can pick the winning lanes, and you can win with them. And they have now swapped the lanes. You know, Zaker going into a super unfavorable matchup mid after dying very early top.
And it's not like you imagine Yasuo is just going to be this lane bully against Darius. You saw in a 2v1 situation, Darius was more than happy to hold out and keep that pressure out on him. So, see whether or not Kerbeck can. I actually imagine they're going to swap back here. I think Zaker was hiding things over, but curious either way now.
Flash out.
Flash out for Kupagan. Has to be careful. This is 3 members all attacking 1 crab in the river here, and not the best use of resources all over. No kills down, nothing taken out and away for it, and the dragon just now spawning. It is that early win Drake. Everybody possibly wants to get it. Now the Lee Sin coming through the trying to gank. It is warded up and has to be careful because Koopa is still down here. It's just going to be the ward cleared. He's just going to take that one, kill it off, and just try to posture here a little bit more. The wave big enough. I don't think that SUNY Buffalo need to worry too much at this point. They should actually be a pretty good chance of catching out now. Kerbeck, this could be dangerous for that Yasuo. He's already down to half. They're trying to find a little bit more. Stoppable on the run, and this is Shock's coming in though.
He's got that knockup, and there's no 6 on the Cassie. Oh,
no, he's gonna get hit by this one. That's the silence. That's the wind wall. Is it enough? The
pass down.
Zac, yeah, and that's gonna be Wamba taken down. But here's the bottom lane. Booster and Stood. Can they find the double kill? You're kidding me. Beautifully played by Kerbeck on this Yasuo now, and Stood is in a lot of trouble. Ooh, it already looks like things are just right back to that same scoreline that we saw in the first game. 5 kills to 1. Maxing out the pressure here in Illinois. Different side, different champions. Same start.
Same results, yeah. I mean, this is absolutely brutal. The way that they executed there, they knew the exact limits of their champions. The Yasuo in particular, Kerbeck goes, I know how much damage I do. Throws out that one tornado, kills every bloblet at the same time. And finishes him off, right? The only lane in which they have a potential lead was that top lane, right? He's got a bit of a gold lead because of the kill, But he needs to do more than just a bit of a gold lead. The rest of the map is already starting to crumble. We're not even 7 minutes in. 5 kills are on the board, and things are looking like another Illinois game.
That's certainly off to the start that they had, but you got to keep in mind, of course, the way that they did play out last game, that fast and loose.
He's
style.
ghosting.
Oh, yeah, no, this could be in time with you getting out in time indeed. The Sonic Wave does not connect in the Ignite. He just stands there eating a little bit of it, feeling good about that one. Not going to feel good, though.
Oh, this is a kill.
If he cannot get out of that one. Kuderik there. So devastating on this Draven. And
Zach here.
Coolster, yeah, trying to keep it alive with keeping him now in the business.
Oh,
They're going to get the first kill. And maybe they try to make burgers out of this cow as well. The red buff, can it do anything for him here? The answer's no.
I mean, so the most important thing is Draven steps back to catch his axe there. That is what gives the Zac and the Ezreal free damage, right? If you don't step back to catch your axe there, you just press the W, motor on out, you probably don't actually get too much damage on you. Maybe you can get out. The Draven still had flash, for God's sakes. Didn't use it. So Wing, getting farther away, flashing out, could have lived. Instead, step back for X, reflexively, instinctively, whatever you want to call it, and dies for it.
Devastating start, as you do just think with a little bit more pressure, Draven could absolutely be owning this lane, just making it his own. Got 2 kills already. He's got the BF swords. Now it's absolutely something that Coolster needs to be careful about and very mindful of as he does continue this one out. Well, Koopagun knows the extent of that threat as well, and he's actually priming through to get a lane gank when this returns and bounces off the tower. I don't think Kuderik's here is going to be feeling like this is a dangerous bet. That is going to be already half his health off the rip. He's rooted. He's hooked up. This is bad news for him, and Coolster gets the kill. They're going to find Rob Stoppable this time as well. Koopagun beautifully played there to come back through the lane to hit it right at the exact time. Chained in with the tornado from Stood. They made the right call. They did everything they needed to there to get another 2 kills back on the board.
And they got them in response. They made a proactive play. Again, we're talking about proactive versus reactive. How a lot of the time it seemed like the reactive play was coming from the other side. Knight kicking the ultimate.
3 people into the top lane, and they're going to find in time with you down. Nothing he could have done about that one.
He had flash, actually. He could have dodged the Sonic Wave.
Oh, well, so potentially one thing he could have done about that one. But either way, this is going to be that early Cloud Drake being taken out and away now by the side of SUNY Buffalo. University of Buffalo will find themselves
that graphic at the top, I think, actually lists their total dragons taken during the game. So, spoilers. But that's not us. That's Riot's built-in dragon counter. So, I don't know how we can actually correct that one. Yeah. But yeah, they take the first Cloud Drake. Obviously, they don't have 3 Drakes yet. So, in that sense, they're going to have pretty good dragon control, I guess. But it's been a very interesting map so far, right? Most of it has been pressure towards, I would say, the top side, obviously, for Illinois. The Illini are definitely forcing and fighting to get control, to force the Darius to be behind. Their Vlad has always had a really tough lane matchup in both of these lanes. He died a couple times. And so they're just trying to give him some assist, you know? On the flip side, Draven's getting shut down. He's now down CS. He's probably down even gold in this bottom lane. If the Ezreal can get ahead, remember we mentioned Ghoulster super good that last game? He's going to be crucial in order for Buffalo to have a fighting chance.
He avoided the early death. Unfortunately, can't say the same for his support. Stood is standing on 0, 3, and 2 as his score, so not even positive in the KDA just yet. But maybe more to come as this League of Legends is a long game. We got more league to play, of course, here. Chasing Yasuo out of the mid lane. Trying to get him down and out of this one. Don't want to have to deal with this 3-0-1 Yasuo that's starting to build up a bigger and better case for him. Well, that's all been on the back of his roams. He's been top lane, he's been mid lane, he's threatened bottom, of course. It was only near the bottom lane in the red buff where he did end up getting that. I would say impressive to say the least kill on the Koopagun. Not the only tornado in this game, Ghana. And does kind of bring the heat. Well, now, since snooping around, Shox is potentially here to find a little bit more. Wants to get the first kick in, goes the wrong direction.
Okay.
Only finds a little bit of the HP.
They're on the run now.
Around. Yeah, that is just a flip. That's going to be the teleport coming in. Those Shox going to be low. That's Rogue, so getting in trouble. Kuder finds Stood. That's the first one. Maybe more to come now. Is now Wamba Wamba is in on this one. Wants to find Zager. Has to rip, walk out. Again, out of there one. Ghoulster out of that one. He's got to be careful. Yasuo is lurking. And this could be a tower dive.
Flash
possibly
forwards.
more to come. Yeah, Kerbeck is there. That's the ignite down. Can they get more? He is hit up. The wind wall not going to be enough to possibly
another
save him if
flash.
Ezreal lands. And it's just going to be the tower. I thought certainly more kills were going to come out of that one, but just the tower for now.
It looked spooky. That looked really spooky. And then not so spooky, right? That was a very, very interesting turn of events. You think it's going to work out. You think it's going to pan out. They're still pressuring. And it all just falls apart, right? That's the most curious thing to me, is that it all just falls apart instantly. You know, they seem like they have a great time. You know, they're turning the fight. It's all working out. And then they get the fight turned on them, you know? Illinois come back again. Buffalo still punished, even though they have their cast in there, even though they have damage.
Ooh.
They just can't find it, you know?
Speaking of damage, this could be a rough situation for Shox. He's got the ward hop, but is it enough? Because the Rift Walk does beat it out here if he can continue to stack that one coup again.
Oh, he can. Oh, he can. This Lee Sin is gone if they land this jump.
Bounce. Goodbye, Wumba Wumba. Buff transfer complete. He's got both of those ones now, and maybe he'll be able to stand closer toe-to-toe with Kerbeck here as you take a look at the items, and doesn't feel like that far of a lead for this Yasuo right now.
This is, as it stands right now, a much, much closer game than Game 1, right? At this point, we were looking at an 8,000 or 9,000 gold lead on the side of Illinois. And in this one, with champs that are, you know, arguably more aggressive, arguably, you know, much more about the early game, they only have a 2,000 gold. And that's partially to do with the fact that their CS numbers aren't as impressive anymore, partially due to the fact that they're down 30 CS in the bot lane, that they don't have quite so many unanswered kills. But all those things factored together mean that Buffalo are playing better in the early game, right? And you remember, mid-game of last game, Buffalo did in fact turn it around. If they can do the same thing, but this time with a lot less of a deficit, they could actually take over the game in this mid-game.
Something that I think the University of Illinois definitely are on the defensive about. They're aware of the way that, hey, game number 1, things started to slip away from us just a little bit. Well, where did it go wrong in the fights specifically? Now, you take a look at their fighting potential here and now. It's a different story just with this composition and where they are in it, right? When the weakest member on this team is probably your jungle Lee Sin, that says a lot about what you can do for your fight potential here. Alistair coming in as well. Wants to find something in to keep Zaker alive. That's Lee Sin, the Sonic Wave. That's absolutely a big pickup as Rob Stoppable goes down there. The Draven Hole all point blank. Not enough, but he does flash forward into it to get the kill. Stood turns it around. Actually does not.
Yeah,
okay. That stays alive and gets that kill for himself. And so AD for support. I'll take the AD even though it's another one over to the Draven. This could be a potential nice shot from Ghoulster to lock it in. And now Zaker feel a little bit of that pain as well. Yasuo on the back line, Ghoulster over the wall. It's going to be followed by Koopa Gun. And maybe have to deal a little bit more with these minions before re-engaging, but Koopa Gun calls that nonsense. He wants to go back in. He wants to get Zaker. He wants to get Kerbeck. He wants to get anyone he can. And this is all made possible by Ghoulster here, sitting on the back line, just chipping away with those Qs. They are not
another one.
Yet they want to find more. This could be Kerbeck going down. Dashes out, but doesn't find it. And now that's just the Zac passive, as Shox has found out as well.
It happened.
And Zaker's on the way out. He's under tower, but look at that. Koopa Gun stays alive, and this tower is almost certainly going to fall. Wow.
We're just talking about this. We're just talking about the mid-game. We're just talking about the fact that inexplicably teamfights start to go the favor of Buffalo during the mid-game. It just happens again. I mean, I can't actually explain why they're only good at teamfights in this mid-game, but that is consistently where they're finding leads. Maybe they're just comfortable. Maybe it's about their item spikes, their timing, the Ezreal, his Sheen, Nirvana, Manamune. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just comfort. Maybe it's just how they're used to playing. Whatever the case might be, they find another one. The game is now in their gold favor for the first time this series.
This reminds me of something I have not seen in a long time. That's Season 2 European League of Legends. And this is the old Moscow 5 CLG EU way to play the game, right? Group is 5. The objectives are important, but we win these team fights and we turn things on their head. It's something I've sorely missed in League of Legends, at least to this degree. So still have some very powerful champions to have to go through here, obviously, and no slouches on the side of Illinois Academy. We'll see how they can turn it around.
It's just... I don't know. Again, it's it seems crazy,
Rift
but
Herald's
now
popped.
Illinois have Rift Herald, they've got a turret, and they're going to look to take 2 in the mid lane. Should be pretty easy, especially with a full health Rift. Get this turret down. They have Draven, they've got Yasuo, they've got Vladimir, they've got the chance to dive, but now they're getting caught.
Yeah, they actually want to find the fight. They don't care about the tower. They care about the kills, and Ghoulster finds the first one. Baker may be in some trouble here. That's Zax over the wall. He tries to find more. It's a double kill already, and more to come. Beautifully played. They're going to kill the Herald off as well. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Just absolutely beautifully played.
The Zac keeps finding the picks. The Zac keeps finding picks, pick after pick after pick. It's all about the Zac. If he lands it, the entire team goes in. It's their only official go button. If there's no Zac, there's no go button, right? Period. That's it. So, if I'm looking at this, right? I'm looking at this game and saying, okay, why are we losing? Look at that and say, we didn't ban Zac, right? That's the only champ they can play. It's now confirmed that this is the reason they go in, is because of the Zac engagement.
Certainly something to do well, so if you're already looking at it as a next game, which may be a little ahead of ourselves, if they were to ban this next game around, I'm curious to see what they might try to fill the gap.
Well, I'm curious to see what they're going to do in this one.
As he does find Draven, he's still quite healthy. Same cannot be said for Wamba. He did have to get out of that fight as quickly as he possibly could. Now Ghoulster just trying to be their kite potential, just trying to get them out safely as Shox wants to make that a little bit more of a dangerous endeavor. Meanwhile, the time with you still on the back end, that's going to be Kugelman trying to get in.
He had the ultimate, didn't actually choose to use it.
Yeah. That's going to be the Ezreal ultimate coming down, just trying to stop backs, didn't connect with anything there, so Rob stoppable. Still going to get back okay. Right there, just spawning now. So they do have to put a good amount of respect onto this 4-4-1 Draven that's come back around again. He's 2 items, and neither of them are ones you want to run into Draven in the dark alley with.
Problem with the Draven, right, is we talked about the immobility. Specifically mentioned that. We specifically mentioned if he gets caught, he gets picked. It's a big portion of the team's damage. The Lee Sin is getting picked too, though, right? The Lee Sin is your pick tool. He's supposed to be the one on the side lane. He's supposed to be the one opening the fights up, threatening the back line, dealing damage. The problem being, every time he's gotten a kick, post 12, 13 minutes, it has been to nobody. His entire team is dead before that even happens, or he's already dead and he doesn't get the kickoff. So what needs to happen here is we need to see more focus on the Draven. Say, okay, we have a really strong AD. He shreds through their people. Keep him alive. Make our front line strong enough. Respect them enough to back off so the only people who are in Zac range are the people on our front line.
Well, that may not be the best call for Rob Stoppable here. He's not going to be the front line of much right now if he cannot get a round of this one alive. And I think the Dunk's going to come through. It's just going to be the spin, actually. He's in time with you. Holds on to that ultimate instead. Keeps it well and good. Doesn't even bother with the potential of trying to reset through and keep the damage down in onto maybe Zaker or Kerbeck in that top lane. Doesn't matter. Zaker actually split put in the bottom lane here. It's maybe going to be a little bit of a tower race early on. Cassidy will defend
some trades
side of Buffalo, Illinois. Trying to hold this one, but Kerbeck
can't really do anything though. If the Yasuo goes in, he just gets CZ.
That's 4 members now, so they're going to get that tower out and away no problem. And here's Kuderek rolling up as he can, but for what?
Yeah, it's been mostly, right, uncontested tower. I think that would be the characteristic of okay, Darius is caught slightly. They try to turn it onto the Yasuo.
Yeah, they want to keep on him to pass the wind wall at this point. He just wants to kill onto the John, and he knows that's his best bet for it. And doesn't matter because the axe does fall. He goes down, and they're going to keep going now. Rob Stoppable gets stopped out and away just like that. And that's going to be a flash forward. The pull into Zaker. The dunk is there. The channeling of the pool is not going to be enough, or is it? This is Zac to the back line, and look at that. Just rubber fist gets him right in the face. And just like that, godlike is now, that's another one down. Shocks the victim of this one, 0, 4, and 6. The Lee Sin pick not working. Fighting Illini just yet as Illinois Academy. Feeling pretty beat up by that one. University of Buffalo getting his first inhibitor and doing it 21 minutes, much faster actually than even the last game when Illinois Academy had this massive lead against them.
This is it's getting kind of dire for Illinois, right? They aren't able to take fights significant in any significant fashion. The Darius is getting super strong. Ezreal's already online. The Zac is basically invulnerable at this point. So you have to wonder, right? Is it? We mentioned, talking about the next game. It's starting to be at the point where they're not going to give it up, right? Illinois had this point the last game. They took the Baron and they ended. So we'll see if Buffalo can replicate that with this Baron buff. Absolutely, they're going to get an inhibitor. That's pretty much a guarantee at this point. They're going to get an inhibitor with this Baron. The question is, how much do they get in terms of their number advantage while taking the inhib? If it's more than 2, right? 5v3, 3v1, the game ends.
I'll say this right now. SUNY at Buffalo feel further ahead with less of a gold lead than Illinois did this time in the last game. Their gold lead was greater, but they still didn't feel this far and away ahead of SUNY now, as SUNY does over them. So, curious to see if this Baron is the straw that breaks the camel's back here. Cracks this game wide open. Another Drake on the board, something that they want to take away from themselves here too. That quickly pocketed. Now,
getting cool.
Minimal defense left for the likes of Illinois Academy. They have their mid-inner turret already under siege now by Wumba Wamba, as he's been just priming that wave. The rest of his team can definitely join here if they want to, as they may need to. Draven, quite expert at cutting through this wave pretty quickly. Zac there to threaten the backline. That's the big question mark I have here. If he's just going to go over, let's dive yet again, getting into the enemy's faces, but hasn't needed it yet. Wumba Wamba keeping the pressure up. They're buying time for In Time With You to roll up in this bot lane. Start sieging both of these towers at once while their minions in the top lane do the real work for them.
This is getting to be the last straw, the last push. If it ends here, could very well, after all. They're looking for this fight though, right? They need the right engage. Buffalo, jump on the Vlad. That's not the target they want, but someone overextends, they're going to more than happily take it. It just has to be a damage dealer. The Yasuo, the Draven, the Lee Sin. Keep your eyes on these, because one of these 3 has to be the first thing picked if they want to fight.
The first tower has fallen. They're going to get another inhibitor off of this one, and
looking for the
guaranteed.
third.
We'll see if they can go for the extra, the boost up as well. Yeah, inhibitor number 3. Done like dinner. There's no chance they can defend this unless the fight just breaks out in earnest beforehand. They want to find it bouncing the Alistair back in.
Down.
It's risky, but they got it down. That's going to be more the Wombo combo coming out of the Draven, trying to stall this one, and then trying to get out of the fight. Scoot has gone down on this one. Maybe more to come now, as In Time With You is out of here as well. Gavigan trying to get out of that one now. It's only Booster that's healthy. He wants this inhibitor. Can he get it? There's more to come. Zaker
still threatening.
Has to be careful. This is a big threat. Yeah, absolutely. Just full health Draven. That's where it gets risky.
If they stick around any longer, they're going to all die for this.
And they take it. They have to back off now. That is the third and final inhibitor. Death timers are high there for the top and support. They're still just around the 15-second mark for In Time With You. He died quite some time ago, but losing Baron on 2, getting 2 inhibitors out of it is very worth it for the likes now of SUNY at Buffalo. How they regroup and reestablish themselves, that's going to make all the difference when they're looking at closing this game off, putting it in the books for
I'm thinking about a way for them to come back. That was a really good fight, but at the same time, they still are under double minion pressure now, right? Yasuo can clear double soup. It's true. He has infinite crit. He's got great damage. The Draven definitely gonna be helpful as well. But the problem is, if he gets caught, look at this Draven way out of position now.
Yeah, and all it takes is
one catch.
Good hit from the Janna here, and that could destroy him, especially with Zac lurking on the back line. Instead, they're just going to regroup. They got supers all over here. There's Zac. The flash is back. Kuderek's trying to get what he can, but Kerbeck in the middle of things. It's a more prominent threat. They need to handle it now. The health bar's there. Wumba Wamba gets it. Here's now Zaker trying to get a little bit more out of it. Gets in, but goes past it into the Zanya very quickly. Now more to come as he's just slapped up immediately out of it. It's Wumba Wamba getting the second kill of the fight, the double kill for himself, as more damage coming down now onto these towers. It's the teleport to keep the super minion alive. Back from base, it's Booster feeling refreshed and ready to win game number 2 this time around, and the GGs come down.
That's it.
And Buffalo stays alive in this series.
It's a comeback, but it is a game, and it is won. I mean, again, Buffalo finding that mid game, finding their stride, winning it through great team fighting and a Zac, right? We got to see if this Zac makes it through pick ban. I'd be very surprised if it does. And if it doesn't, what do Buffalo have in store? What can they actually use to come back into this?
Yeah, I mean, just tied up at 1-1. Here's where it gets really tricky, right? I mean, this is where if you're the University of Illinois, do you have any tricks left over? Because they found themselves a massive gold lead in the first game, right? They found themselves all sorts of early advantages, great macro play to keep it up. Seemed like it lilted a little bit here, but now the chance for adaptation is actually in their corner. They changed up their team comp from game one. Didn't go the way they wanted to. Maybe you go back to that style. Maybe you go back to kind of what worked for you in the first game, and whether or not, SUNY Buffalo are going to be able to keep up,
that's to come though, right? We got to give them time. We got to give them time for game 3. Before we get into that, right? They're going to have to reset. They're going to have to look at the drafts, and we'll be right back with our game number 3. Will it be Buffalo's reverse sweep, or are Illinois going to pull off the impossible and win a mid-game?
Well, we'll find out after this, but we're going to throw it to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
בלב בגודל אסיה, אז התחלתי מחדש מול הגלקסיה. טס, לאן ללא ידוע, לבד ולא רגוע, הלב מאוד פצוע, בכל זאת נוע, הגעגוע הוא הכוח הכי גרוע, אני לא נלחם בו וגם לא נשאר כנוע, ממשיך מחפש עם השיט, עם הסטרס, מה שבא בשבילי זה הבסט, לסדר את הווסט, כנס לקווסט, חפש את הפס, שחרר את הברקס ונקסט, יו, לבדי, מבולבל, מול הדין, מאופן, מיידי, אם בכלל כולנו עבדים בחלל, לפעמים זה לא קל, אל תרגיש כאומלל, בוא איתי, כי חבל כולנו עבדים בחלל. פיתונה לבד שלי המשיך 4 משהו לשבתאי כוכבים תאריך אין לי שמץ של מושג לאן פונים או מה צריך אני טרמפיסט בגלקסיה בלי מדריך לוקח אוויר ונזכר בלילות הקשים וכולם מחפשים לעשות להרשים לגלות להגשים להאשים ועושים המון רעש יחסית לאנשים אבודים בחלל זום אאוט מבט מעל מבין שהלבד שלי הוא לא לבד כלל דתות צדדים כתות שבטים אורות שלטים מרוב פחדים שכחתי שאני מסוגל ליהנות מהנוף מהרייד אין סוף לפניי אני לוסט אני בוס אני פה אני חי וואלה כי מזמן טס אז רק פרסט קלאס כמו זינק סטארדסט אני שם גז לבדי מבולבל מול הדין מאופן מיידי אם בכלל כולנו עבדים בחלל לפעמים זה לא קל אל תרגיש כאומלל בוא איתי כי חבל עוד אומרים שיודעים הכל ולא מודים עדיין כולנו עבודים בחלל ושוב רבים על בית מוצא אותת ימין או שמאל אז בוא נרים לחיים כולנו עבודים בחלל כולנו עבודים בחלל כולנו עבודים בחלל כולנו עבודים בחלל כולנו עבודים
and gentlemen, to the definitive conclusion, one way or another, we shall find out whether or not it is the University of Illinois Academy or SUNY University at Buffalo that will come out of this the victor. Both teams sitting 1-1, one of the rare best of threes that goes the distance in this Winter Classic tournament so far, but that's the kind of game that we're expecting from now on in the round of 8 and further, as these teams do get closer and closer together in that skill zone. Now, though, game number 3 on the line. It's all coming down to this.
Yeah, and we're going to load straight into draft. Get that up on your screen. No waiting whatsoever beyond that little bit of an introduction. Mordekaiser banned out. I can't speak to the Mordekaiser, difficulty, I would say. I think Zach is going to be selected here, given that he's not banned. I'd have to imagine it, right? It's the only thing. They're not going to pick... Okay.
We'll see. It's just the hover.
It's locked in.
Oh, boy. Kha'Zix, too. They're zooming through this. What
I can't imagine what happened, right? Like, Buffalo, how do you forgo your Zach? It's your only engage tool. It's your only engage.
Maybe they were a little bit nervous about having to dive in on that Urgot the further the game went on. Maybe Kled and Mordekaiser and, missed ban as well. Some funky stuff happening here. Teemo's down.
Well, it does do really well against the Darius, admittedly.
You can't cage me for long.
Silas, okay. Not something we see a ton of, but not going to get a chance to either. As Heimerdinger, this is a little bit of a crazy band composition coming out side of University of Illinois, as Kaisa's going to be the pick up for Gulster here. I have to go into an Ashe. Kuderik there, going to pick that one up for himself. And
I actually kind of like the Ashe, but I also kind of don't, The problem with Ashe and Kaisa is the same problem with anything in Kaisa. Where's your consistent damage, right? If you're Vayne or you're Ezreal, you have damage. If you're Lucian, you have damage. Everybody else in the roster seems to lack that damage. The Braum kind of makes up for it because you stun her. Now she doesn't deal damage because she's stunned. That makes sense. But up until that point, it's like, well, where is your damage? Your damage, I'm going to point, that's Zoe. Zoe is broken. Zoe is so incredibly strong. This is going to be a hard champ to deal with. Even on Lissandra, we're going to see this, I think, have a huge impact in the game. I think Zoe is one of the strongest champions in the meta, period. And under advisement from some very high-ranked players, I would say Zoe is the way to climb as of right now. Might not be that way after 9-3, we'll see. But as of right now, this Zoe, the reason they picked it, so strong, so good, so easy to burst out with. They've got no Braum to block, they've got no Yasuo wind wall. That means everything's going to be connecting if she lands it. So things are going to start getting dangerous, right? They got to shut the Zoe down early. We'll see where Kupagan goes, but he has to make a lot of trips mid, in my opinion.
I'm curious to see as well the way it's going to turn out against this Lissandra Wamba, somebody that has had this banned against him both games now beforehand. Played well to the limits of the Orianna in the team fight stage, as he was ready to rip that. As we're ready to get into game, that's all loading up, ready to go. Good luck's come down. The have fun's come down.
Good luck, have fun, have brags. Let's get it. This is the game number 3, the University of Illinois versus Buffalo. 1-1 in the series. I mean, you want to talk about a good series. This is the first one I think we've seen to go to game 3 on the entirety of the broadcast. We might have had one other series this entire season, right? This is such an important thing.
Now it just means pressure's certainly on for these teams, and they know it. They're going to bet everything on the level 1 invade. Well, why not? You've got Braum early. You have Ashe early. Two
very interesting path.
Away from.
I'm not sure if I like this, right? The reason you pick this path is because you think, okay, there's people standing in bush, but you're visible. Bush is visible all the way down to the hook. So if there were people there, they can see. So I'm not so sure about that one. Not so sure about this kind of bet. They risked it, didn't pan out. Go back to their lanes with the recalls. Nobody burned any sums. That's okay. You don't need to burn sums. There's also no early vision. They didn't drop a single ward. Very curious on that note, because now they don't know where the Xin is starting.
This is, pretty tough. Maybe they just said, if they were bot side, we would have run into him by now. Not too worried about that. So
That's a very
pretty sure
important
he's starting
pixel
red.
ward.
So
That's a very important pixel ward. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's a whole video about why that pixel ward is the most important thing in the game. On both sides, it tells you where the jungler is, pretty much ad nauseum, beyond like 1 or 2 paths. Right? It lowers where he can be from like 8 locations down to like 3. So that's super, super important. I won't get into the super hard details, but suffice to say, it shows where the scuttle crabs are if they've crossed the path, and that determines whether or not the jungler is actually, gone and interrupted the scuttle. Obviously he's going to kite it away from that pixel brush. He doesn't want you to see him. He doesn't want you to see that he's taking the scuttle. But the absence of the scuttle is just as important as seeing it, It's on a predetermined route. So that's very important. The Xin Zhao is going to go buff, back, buff. Very interesting clear. And then he's going to go for probably scuttle crab into, I would think, right, a gank. But this is a very, very strange clear to me. I don't know about buff, back, buff. Usually it's buff straight to buff. You don't back in between. But, hey, now he's spotted on the pixel, and they know where he's at. So this Kha'Zix is free to invade. He's free to counter. And they know where the Xin Zhao is going to show up next. It's probably going to be mid.
yeah, and Kha'Zix popping the plant just to make sure he knows what jungle camps are alive and well.
There's
On
no
that side.
chickens, nothing up. Xin Zhao's looking for this. He's going to find rocks, but that's not a huge reward, Just getting the rock camp is not like an insanely good thing to see. He is counter jungling slightly, but this Kha'Zix at any point could walk up and take chicken.
Things also looking a little bit sticky here in the top lane for In Time With You on this Darius. We saw Zaker on the Urgot first game around, and got him kind of away from that they had a better showing in that top lane. Well, now he's back to it, and In Time With You giving a lot of respect over to that one, and he's pushed back onto the back foot. Well, here's Kerbeck trying to get a little bit more damage out. None found thus far, though. And mid lane staying surprisingly even. This could be the counter chint, though. They want to come in. Here's Kha'Zix. Shox is going to be there. They're flashing out. Yeah, this is troublesome. I think Kupagan's going to be able to ward him off. Well done now to the side of
Buffalo.
City
Yeah,
Buffalo,
they're up.
Yeah.
No, actually, they're even in summoners because the Xin Zhao had to trade and the Kha'Zix only leapt away.
Oh.
So they're actually even in summoners. And the Zoe, I think that's more important. The Xin Zhao still has engaged tools. He can still get into fights, but the Zoe has another flash.
Yeah, this is bad news for Wumba Wamba, actually. This is going to be a dive from Kerbeck and flashes for him. What are you doing? Barely escaping with his life. This is Xin Zhao. He's almost certainly going to come in for this one. And
You'd have to think so. As soon as he sees that there is a Zoe up, he'd go for it. But there is a Kha'Zix with her as well. He doesn't want to take the 1 versus 2 as much as he is a strong pick. He just doesn't want to risk that. Darius in the top lane against Urgot. This is not the pick. I think the pick is until the Oh, hold that thought. Xin Zhao's already here.
Pick him off. That's the flash for it, at least. So they're going to take that away.
Yeah, there's also something else that has been making the rounds. Rammus as an Urgot counter, right? You build and rush out Bramble Vest. What it does is Bramble Vest is reduced by 1/3 on Urgot's W. Everyone knows that. Rammus W is not. The full reflect damage is taken by the Urgot when it actually happens. You max your E so he's taunted for longer, and then at level 5 you can 100 to 0 a Urgot with a level 1 W.
My goodness.
That's a strat, by the way. You want to try that out in your solo queue games? It actually works. I can guarantee it. There's videos online. You can check that stuff out, but it's fantastic. I mean, there's actually a crazy counter to that champion. And, given that, right, given that Urgot's actually going to be not so much in favor after 9-3, I think this is, well, he's probably going to be still pretty good. But Kupagan might not be so good after this fight.
Isolated, yeah, no passive to get him out of that one this time. First blood's down and the jump
backwards.
Reset. That's a suppress. That's absolutely destroyed. In Time With You taken down to Zaker. It's a 2-0 start for Illinois Academy back on the blue side.
Illinois are so good at consistently getting these early game leads. I mean, they do it time and time again. The root lands. Not much damage though, right? Remember, this is still a Kaisa. She needs to scale up. She needs a couple items. She doesn't just do damage, without those. Champions that do are Draven, Lucian, the champs that scale incredibly well, face damages. Kaisa not so much. So she's going to need a couple more items to actually do the damage, but if her team falls apart before she can get those, it's not going to matter much.
I mean, still just chilling in lane on this Doran's, on this one potion. Hasn't needed that yet, so saving it for a rainy day perhaps is spot lane now of SUNY Buffalo. Infernal Drake on the map here as well. Vision was around it, but that's some pretty quick clear by Kerbeck to just make sure that that's not at high risk for them just right now. And with Kupagan on the top half of the map on this Zinzao, that could be something now that shocks on Kha'Zix here after Red Buff could turn his attention to Braum and Asher in the area as well. Red Buff doing enough for him, keeping him busy. See what his next move is here, because if I'm looking at this map, if I'm looking top to bottom, there's not a ton to clear, there's not a ton gankable. Dragon just seems to be a more enticing objective every second does pass here.
Yeah, the real problem is, even though Dragon is nice, and looks alright, it's Kha'Zix, right? So for him, it's not that great of an option. He can't just solo it. He can't just walk up and take the drag. Xin Zhao, of course, is very interested in that objective. He can absolutely do that. But given that there's, two different paths for the junglers, I think Kha'Zix is much more likely to ward it and then kill the Xin while he's on it.
That would be troublesome. Yeah, you get yourself a little bit of a lead in a game like this, and you don't want to just give it up right out right off the rip. And it's only a little over 1,000 gold. That's the smallest gold lead we've seen at 8 minutes, by the way. Thus far, it's not a small gold lead for 8 minutes. It's just the smallest one we've seen in this.
Yeah, 1,800 gold is. Oh, 800 actually. Excuse me, but Joey Bubble misses. Xin Zhao's going to engage on her.
Ooh, that's the Crystal Arrow, and what a hit, as it actually does find two, but Kupagan in a little bit of trouble here, and that could be more danger coming down. Kerbeck's going to fall to this one. Wamba making sure that they do find that one out.
Taker's in.
Yeah, he's taking the Dragon's aggression, but Wamba's just eating it for breakfast, and it does take him out of this game entirely. The commission is down. And that's going to be with Draven still on top, and Infernal Drake locked out and away now into the hands. Of course, University of Illinois Academy team. 5-2 to start. So the first time they've been up 5-1.
Yeah, and I mean, this is pretty expected, I would say, right? This is what you generally tended to see so far in the series from University of Illinois. They get good early leads, right? They pressure with their jungler, they force to one side of the map, they repeatedly gank it, and they get leads that way. The fact is, Buffalo have been getting better and better and better at restraining the actual lead that is generated. So, if they can continue to do that, and they have been, they did it last game, they did it quite successfully, and then scale out into their mid game, things look pretty good. The problem is, Zac is not in this composition. They have another go button. The go button is now, instead of a knockup, right? It's maybe Lissandra ult, it's maybe Xin Zhao engage. Neither of those are as well defined or as disruptive, right? Lissandra ult only hits one person max. She E's in and she roots a whole team. That's the same thing, but it doesn't knock them up. They can still cast abilities. They can still do things while they're actually rooted. So not nearly as effective in terms of the overall CC. And with the consistency that Zac was landing his abilities, I would much rather have seen it.
Yeah, and still, good presence of mind by University of Illinois to make sure it doesn't end up in this game. I was told by production that the draft we saw was a redrafting, so those bans were not what they'd stuck to originally.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume actually
that they did ban the Zac out.
That would be my guess, right? I don't have concrete information on that, but that would just be my guess.
That makes a lot more sense. Zac gets banned out. You got to resort to the next best thing. With Zac banned out, though, right? It's a huge part of their game plan gone, a huge part of the reason that they were good. So we'll have to see. And with the Zoe up in the top lane, the Kha'Zix floating around as well, things are sort of dangerous. They don't really want to fight. And so the Darius is going to have to back off. He has to get quite far back from the turret. He doesn't have the vision to stay around there. And even as far back as he is, if they did want to engage, they would have free time.
One sleepy Wamba there. Shox is going to make sure to use every bit of that isolation damage, and Guderick on a killing spree now. Stood to get stunned up. They're going to try to get in more. Kupagan should actually have both of these kills. A flash may get him out, though, as Robstoppable going to live by the skin of his teeth. Maybe not as he's getting dove under tower. Gun. One more shot would have done it. Has to be careful, but you cannot re-engage that one, Rob. Wisely does back off. Both will go their separate ways. Agree, hey, maybe we're not killing each other today. And that's a truce. It's Geneva Convention of sorts. In this bottom lane, they're going to try to...
They agreed not to use weapons of mass destruction.
Well, you know. League of Legends summoners by any sort of... League of Legends summoners, right, by any sort of...
Well, there aren't any summoners anymore. Those got retcon too.
Oh, did they? Yeah. Forget what's going on in the state of the lore. It's all more than my mind can keep up with.
Nautilus had his lore stolen by Pyke. Actually, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that one hurts. We'll see if
hurts more than being thrown off a ship in a big heavy suit of armor, finding an anchor on the bottom of the sea.
They're trying to deal out some hurt here.
Anyway,
red buff.
Look at this Ash room towards the top side. Darius in a lot of danger.
This is dead. He's entirely dead. Goodbye, Cooper. Dead.
Darius gone too.
Yeah, he's picked right off. Actually, tries to turn it around, but that bottom lane, the 2v1, Kudrik tries to just slam it down. Does indeed, and Robstoppable was there all the way to make it happen. So
I like the Bork Ash. I like the see. This is an Ash build that was popular for a very brief period. I believe back in season 4 or 5. I think it was 5 actually. Called Korean Ash. You went Bork, you got Black Cleaver. I think there might have been a Runans involved. It was right around the time that Blue Ezreal and the whole Korean Lucian build, you know, with the Bork and the Black Cleaver is popular as well. So Lucian was always permabanned, so they found alternatives, you know? Obviously, this was one of them. It's quite adept at actually bringing down people early game, because much like the Lucian, you know, much like this this aggressive forward-facing, you know, slow that you abuse with the item and the extra damage and the burst, Ash has quite a bit of burst with Braum, right? So then you add in the fact that Bork allows early game sustain, slow, damage, etc. It becomes a pretty potent build. Doesn't scale very well, doesn't have very many options towards the late game, but this is not a meta in which that matters.
No, this is a dangerous position for Kubagun there. You talk about missing that Zac. That's the point when, you know, he may have been able to try and make a play in the last 2 games. This time around, not the case, and you can tell they're falling further and further behind. And the kill disparity, the widest it looks to have been thus far in the favor of Illinois Academy. They're going to get a Mountain Drake as well to complement that Infernal Drake quite nicely. So they're resetting. It'll be Cloud up next here, but Power's on their mind in the interim here, and Scud. That's going to be bad news. Tries to ward it instead. Gets a face full of death. Shox is unstoppable there. He picks up the kill for himself. 5-0-1 on this Kazakh. He's showing why it's been banned out entirely. The Rift Herald getting popped as well. That's all 3 Rift Heralds gone to the favor now of Illinois Academy. We'll see if Kerbeck can get himself out of this one alive. He's going to be definitely picked up. Booster there picks up that kill, finds it for himself. They're going to try to answer back with some damage to this mid lane tower, but they're losing another one in the bot lane thanks to this Rift Herald.
This is getting to be kind of disastrous, right? 15 minutes, 4K gold lead. It's shorter, it's smaller of a gold lead than the previous games, but this is a much more cerebral Illinois squad, right? This is a much more objective gaming squad, right? They're going after turrets. They got 2 and a charge onto the 3rd, and that's basically 1 Herald. It's basically free, right? They can go back and return, kill this turret at any time that they want, and then have an open inhibitor for the rest of the game. With that in mind,
so much of a difference last game. We'll see if he can try this time around as well. Gulster is destroyed by this Kazakh's blood. Summoner should have just resigned himself to the grave, because those, I'm sure, will be key in another moment soon to come. There was no getting out of that one alive. It's the Panic Summoner spells. I know exactly where it is. I do that all the time. Happens to the best of us. But still, now for the next 15 seconds and next several minutes with both these summoners, Gulster kneecapped very heavily in this game as we're getting to the point where these inner towers become a big part of the conversation.
Yeah, we really are. And once this thins out, maybe not dies, actually.
The ghost is there for Zaker. If he just gets in range, that'll do it.
Okay, had dodged the bubble, walked into Zaker. It's unfortunate, but yeah, this is a dangerous pick for a reason, right? Zoe just kind of does things, and there's not much you can do about it. You know, you get slowed, you get stunned. She only has 4 assists, but she's done so much damage into this game that you wonder where it actually ends. The bubble doesn't land on the Kaisa. If it did, that would be a dead Kaisa. Instead, she will go over the wall, try to get onto this Kerbeck. Instead,
What a
blocked out by
shield!
Braum. A great stop.
Beautiful play. Stand behind me, doing everything it needs to be unbreakable in tandem. Just great play by Rob Stoppable to stop that one dead in its tracks. Ghoulster not making any ghosts of this one. Instead, they're going to try to answer back on this mid lane tower. Ash with the baller. They're going to clean these minions up pretty quickly. Wamba Wamba drowsy now. Has to get away as best he can. Doesn't matter. Shox is godlike. I don't know if he's in range for isolation, but he certainly is now. And there's a crystal arrow as well from downtown. Shox going to die to the tower there. Karma getting credit. Tower, meanwhile, answered back in the bottom lane. Still 3-3 in turrets. That's why this gold lead's not as massive as it could be at 15-5 with these CS scores that you're looking at. But either way,
This is actually very, very good for the side of Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
This is surprisingly good CS for the situation they've been put in. The Xin Zhao, talk about situations.
Goodbye. He's sleepy. He's ignited. Oh, I thought he'd get hit with the last tick to stun up as well, but did not. And now Zaker having to deal with in time with you. He's trying to get what bleed he can on, but the tower's doing more than he could hope to with his damage. Flashes back into the brush. And may
That was
need
so
that to get out
close,
later.
right? If he doesn't have Flash, the Urgot is probably actually dead there, right? 1 Q away from actually going down. Sandra in, Zoe close, but not wanting to commit fully to this fight.
Where it gets tricky, this point in the game, just shy of Baron. There's enough damage in this game to find that one out, mostly definitely on the side of the University of Illinois. So giving up a kill on the side of Buffalo, a minute and a half from now could be absolutely game ending. Meanwhile, this is the point in the game where Buffalo managed to dig deep the last couple times around. Now they had the Zac, they had different compositions that were, seemingly further along, but I think Illinois would be fools to start counting their chickens here, to start saying, hey, Buffalo, not too much of a threat to get this kill here onto Kubica, and this would be massive implications for the
That's
Dragon.
dead.
He's isolated. Goodbye. Didn't even have a chance to ward it, just taken out instantly.
Do not stop, do not pass go, just collect a death, and give Kha'Zix another 300 gold. It's looking extremely dire. Right now, all that they're waiting for is that Baron, right? They ended off the last Baron in their first game. Now they're looking to do the same in their third game. And I gotta say, they can probably do it, right? They have such a strong team comp in terms of just raw siege power because of the Zoe, because of the Ashe pick, and because of the Urgot ult, right? All of these champions do incredibly well at picking out, finding opportunities, and turning it an even siege into a numerical advantage. The Baron buff's just gonna assist and speed that up. I think as fast as this game has, accelerated, it's slowed down even more quickly, right? They're just waiting. They're just waiting. As soon as they get this Baron, or attempt to get it, the fight has to happen, right? If Buffalo let them get the Baron, they're basically conceding, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and it kind of goes against the spirit of just do or die, fight to the last breath that we've seen out of Buffalo thus far. They do seem to be rolling over a little bit more in this game, and it's just because they don't have an answer to this.
They're not super far behind, though, They're not super far behind. The problem is, where is their go button? Where is their comfort? Where is their jungler? He is not present on this Zac.
It's got to be everyone doing something to kill his Kha'Zix because he gets out of position, but it doesn't matter. He's already found 2. Kerbeck is the second one to find there. This is more to come. Wamba self-ult just to try to stay alive, and Ghoulster trying to get what he can on the back of this one. He's drowsy, though, behind his own tower. Could go down. That's the first dunk for In Time with you. He finds
2,
Kerbeck.
3, 4, 5!
And beautiful. That's the ace coming out now. It's 1 down, but they get 5 in return. The jungle is still alive. That screams Baron Nashor.
It's done. Baron's gone. This is going to be the hardest defense of Buffalo's career because they're against a team that is aggressive, that has pick, that has siege, that is the best mid laner they can possibly ask for, and they're going to be doing it with Baron as well. This is going to be an impossible task, tallest odds we've seen, and this series might have just ended.
Looks like it. Buffalo now with their backs against the wall. It is the round of 8. They've come this far, but Defeat looming in the shadows and getting closer and closer and closer with each passing second. We'll see whether or not they can dig deep, try to defend this one. They have to kill Kha'Zix, but he's not the only one anymore. That was the story 5 minutes ago, but now you have to kill Zaker as well. You have to kill Kudrik. And I just don't know if they can pull it off with every single one of these. It's going to take every trick they have in the book. This Lissandra, it was banned against Wumba Wumba the entire series up until now. He's got it. And we'll see whether or not it can be the hero to make the play. We'll see whether or not it makes a difference.
I mean, we're talking, gotta get ult, right? Zoe doesn't have Clef. You have to get an ult onto Ashe or Zoe. You do that, maybe you can kill somebody. Maybe you can kill somebody. Maybe you can get the numbers advantage. Maybe you can win. Right now, in a 4 versus 5, Kha'Zix's not even there. And they still can't actually take this fight. They don't have the vision. They don't know where that bug is. Now, even seeing him on their minion line, they're still hesitant. They're still not wanting to go in. Missing that go button might be a huge blow to their composition, not just in mindset, but in terms of their playability.
Wumba gets a quick root up, but has to back off carefully, not needing to get in too far, and that's the pop over the wall from the Zoe. Meanwhile, bottom
Kupagan, he's destroyed.
Done. Yeah, he's absolutely locked back in. Zaker makes sure of that one. And inhibitor number 1 starting to fall now for Illinois Academy. Don't think Buffalo can defend this one at all. The next tower going to be in trouble. I think this is probably the game, Zeta. This is where it gets tricky. 23 minutes, they're trying to find more, but the last fight should be breaking out. Glacial Fissures down. That's Wumba Wumba with the self-ult. It's only going to buy some time, as he's not even going to make it back to the fountain steps. Actually, I eat my words. He does. He gets out alive. I thought they had him. Not quite yet, as the rest of this one now confined to the fountain. Only 1 tower left. This is certainly game number 3 going now into the hands of Illinois Academy. The last ditch is there, but it's not enough. It's just the stat pad. As a double kill comes down, the Drowsies all around. And just like that, Illinois Academy move on to the semifinals. Wow.
What a way to move on to the semis, right? I think that was such a crazy game just to end on, right? You think Illinois, man, they're lacking things, they're missing fights, they're not getting the damage they want. And all of a sudden they go, no.
Yep.
And they just win instantly. I mean, that was a crazy turn on at about the 10-12 minute mark. They just said, all we need to do is objective game, right? Then they played macro like they've actually been playing it the entire series. They had a great Rift Herald push, fantastic use of that. They got Baron just because their jungler was insanely fed. They sat in bushes, waited. There's no vision. People are just getting picked left, right, and center. And they just continue with it, right? That's insane. So clean just to do that out of nowhere, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you take a look at just the way the last game went for them and the adaptations that Buffalo made, then they swap up the composition so well, and it just turned out fantastically for them. So with that, of course, we do extend our large congratulations to Illinois Academy for moving on into the semifinals. This is a team that promising. They're trying to hang in there, and now, potentially just 2 more matches to go if they were to take it all. Unfortunately, that does mean for SUNY Buffalo, this is the end of the road. They fought their hearts out. They gave us one of the best series I think we've seen in this winter invitational here.
I think that we've seen in the season, right?
Yeah. I mean, just truly great. So big thank you to them for being on our stream here, of course, and top 8, nothing to sneeze at, of course. Hope to see them coming back bigger, better, stronger. More of our League of Legends action to come. And hey, speaking of more action to come, of course, we've always got more esports here at the C Star League, some Counter-Strike, some Dota. It's all happening right here, Twitch TV/C Star League. That's where you can catch it a little more. It just comes on right after League of Legends. So all you got to do is stick around. And it's another reason to stick around because you got to find out who's getting that RP. Of course, the Twitter raffle as well for following at C Star League and at CSL LOL with the place. We can see another best of 3 series, round of 8, kind of flesh out that semifinal a little more, but that's going to do it for us tonight. My name is Kyle Corpscrow. I've been joined by Jeff, Zeta, Schnur. We've been happy to be with you guys, and we're going to see you next time.